my heart is absolutely full of joy when I see a new family in Emmerdale or Coronation Street or Eastenders. It's absolutely like, I'm like, yes, I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. But it breaks my heart at the same time when I see a theatrical cast photo with only one black person in it or one Indian person in it. And I'm like, do you know there's over 30,000, maybe more, probably more now, but there's over 30,000 graduates that graduate out of Performing Arts College every 3 years. And you mean to tell me that there's no people of colour that can be chosen to be in these productions? No.
Amos Madra.
Linda John-Pierre, author of the book Still Laughing, presenter, broadcaster, actor, you do it all. A warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Amos. It's lovely to be invited and it's lovely to finally meet you.
Thank you very much indeed. Linda, your journey into stage, into acting, it's been a very interesting one. From a very young age, you wanted to be an actor, and then you took a pause for some time before getting back into your first love. Talk to us about that journey from that very young Linda who first got caught by the lights and just thought, this is it, this is what I want to do.
Well, the journey, you're correct, Amos, in saying that the journey did start when I was very young. So it started when I actually went to the theatre with my parents. We saw a show called Ippy Tomby in the West End in must have been 1979. And it was just fantastic. It was just brilliant. That was the moment when I realised that I wanted to be on that stage. And, the 10-year-old Linda was told by her father, why don't you join a, choir? And I was like, no, I'm not having any of it. I'll do what I want to do. And he didn't push any further. He just said, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to force you into something you might not want to do or enjoy in terms of joining a choir. So we left it at that. And then when I reached 16, I actually had my daughter. I had my daughter very young, and I had to put the singing on the back burner for a while. But the passion for singing and performing was always there. It never left me. So when I was old enough, that's when I started, singing at weddings and christenings and birthday parties and clubs and things. And people were like, oh, wow, you've got a voice. So I was slowly but surely getting out there and, trying to sort of live my dream, if you like, and I wasn't going to give up. It's been a journey and a half, to say the least.
I mean, that's really interesting. There's a lot of people who do give up on that dream. Talk to us about that pull, that desire to want to get back into it and to get to where you are today.
Well, do you know what, Amos? It's. I don't think it's a case of getting. There was a hiatus break, but when somebody feels so passionate about something in their lives, like whether it be acting, singing, dancing, drama, DJing, even, if that's in you, it's never going to leave you until you actually reach that goal and go, right, because look at you, look what you're doing, look what you've achieved. This is amazing. This is fantastic. So you must be proud of what you've achieved, because it's always been in you to get this far, to have your own show. This is brilliant. So when you're passionate about something, it never leaves you. So the passion never left me. That's why, as much as physicalities of life taking over, it just means that you got to go along with life and just do what you have to do and survive. But along the way, how I kept that fire burning was the fact that I was invited to weddings to sing at, to different parties. They say, oh, get Linda to come in and sing a song or whatever. And that was my way of keeping that fire burning, because I'm like, there's got to be somebody here who's going to notice me, and like make me sign a record deal or something. But that didn't happen, but it was good because I actually got an opportunity to actually get out there and sing and show people, what my passion was, and it was singing. So life may happen, but if you've got that passion, it's not going to leave you until, you're satisfied with where you want to go with it.
That's wonderful, because obviously you know what your purpose is.
Yeah.
And again, every opportunity you could find, you stepped into it, and you took your chances. And of course, we have this vision of how we would want our careers to blossom. We would want, that one person to be in the audience and to listen to us. That didn't quite happen. How did you keep the spirits up, and how did you continue to hone that skill?
Well, I kept my spirits up by still, singing at friends and families, like social events. Then it got to the point where I got to a certain age and I was like, oh, maybe I can sing in a club, like sing like a dance track or a funky house track or something. Get them to play the musical or the instrumental, then I'd sing the vocals on top. And it would send the whole place wild. And so that kind of kept me going. I didn't get paid for it. I never got paid for any of those appearances. I just wanted to do it because, again, it was the passion that was in me. It was like my lifeblood without me even realizing it then. So that's what kind of kept me going, is the fact that I just thought, you know what, each time it was just getting, the appearances were getting more and more daredevil, if you like, especially performing to people that I just don't even know, compared to when I was actually just doing a little singing something at someone's wedding and I knew everybody. So in a sense, I was kind of like a little bit showy offy, but because everyone knew me. But when you're singing in a club and no one knows you, you don't know how the crowd are going to react. So luckily for me, I'd always only ever sing one or two songs and then that was it. And then most of the time, this is a fact, it's not me blowing my own trumpet, is the fact that the crowd would be like, we want more, we want more, we want more. And I was like, no, now you'd have to pay me. So, but that's what kind of kept me going, is the fact that it was like an adrenaline buzz, like going into a club and going, oh my gosh, how are these people going to react? And they would go mental with, like if it started, like songs like General Levy's Wicked, Wicked, I'd
Jungle is massive, yeah.
I see, even you know
it. No, I'm not that young.
Neither am I. It's showing our age now, but
what I like is, you've the goal remained the same, but you took a slight pivot. It was just a different route, but still that North Star remained the same. Talk to us about when you got that breakthrough, or when you felt that the breakthrough was imminent.
Well, I felt as though the breakthrough came when I can't remember how old I was actually, but when I got offered to sing on Stars in Their Eyes as Shaka Khan for ITV, and that was the very first time I thought, oh my gosh, so many people are going to see me on television, friends, family, associates, like friends of friends. And I was like, wow. And not only that, but I appeared on Michael Barrymore's My Kind of Music as well. So in must have been in this, obviously like a few months apart, but when they actually televised these programs, I think Stars in Their Eyes came out first, and then a few months later in the same year, Michael Barrymore's My Kind of Music came out as well. So it looked as though I was quite busy, but there was obviously a time frame as to when these programs can be transmitted. And that's when I felt like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I love it. Recording in a TV studio, and yeah, it was just so exciting, so exciting. I was like, yeah, this is it. This is it. I made it. But again, wasn't the case. It wasn't the case. A lot of people saw me on television. I even got my first agent out of doing Stars in Their Eyes. And it was a lady in Liverpool, actually, an agent in Liverpool, who I never met, but she tried her utmost to try and get me seen for so many things in London. And it just didn't happen for whatever reason. I think it's because I thought I was ready, but I really don't think I was ready, to kind of hit that big time and go, right, let's go for it. Tell me what I need to do. And I think, I still had a young child to look after, and it was the fear factor. that was kind of like clouding over me. So I, as much as I did these shows, I was just like, oh, I'm a bit scared. So I'm going to see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look in hindsight, are you glad it happened that way? I mean, do you feel you're in more control of what you do now and where you spend your time?
Yeah, I'm really happy. I don't regret doing anything, Amos. I really don't, because it's all life experience. And I would like to think that I have learned from what I've experienced with my career. I've made some terrible decisions, but I have to live with them. However, it's learning along the way. And I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful, and I'm very fortunate to be in a position now to say, no, I don't want to do it. You know, like mainly theatrical, shows. I'm just, yeah, I'm the love of theatre I've actually lost. But television and film, my heart is actually there.
Tell us why you've lost that love for theatre.
Um, Racism, racism. Just it's that word. I didn't ever think that I would experience racism as much. People are going to say, "Oh, Linda, racism is everywhere. We get it. It's everywhere. You can't hide from it." I know that. We all know that. But it's when it's so, it's there. It's prevalent. It's right there, in your face, and you just think, I've been in this industry for a very, very long time, and yeah, it's too stressful for me, if I'm honest. If it's too stressful to do theatrical shows, because if I don't get ostracized, then it's racism, or intimidation or bullying. Um, and I'm just like, you know what? Life is very short. So I have to make the most of what I enjoy doing and what my heart tells me that, yeah, Linda, you absolutely love doing television and film. So just stick to those genres. But yeah, that's why I've fallen out of love with it, really, which is sad, because I do love theatre. I love watching it, but I just don't like being in it.
And I mean, when we think about again, getting into theatre is what you wanted to do. You've made a great name for yourself in theatre. You've featured in some great programs. And again, it's sad to hear that sadly racism is still there, and we know it's in all forms in different parts of
Oh,
society.
yeah.
But I mean, what do you think for those in charge who run this sector? What can they do? How would you express your frustration, perhaps, to them? What would you want to say?
Well, do you know what? I can say anything, Amos, but it actually starts from the top. It starts with people like directors. It starts with, through to casting directors who have to help choose, the cast to go into a show. And when I see like pantos, or, general shows with only one token black person in it, or an Indian person in it, or a Chinese person in it, I just think, yeah, they've just ticked the boxes to show that they've actually got people of culture in their show. But it may be a predominantly white show. Obviously there's not going to be shows where it's going to be culturally diverse, but what I will say is that the only company that I can really put my hand on my heart and say that they are amazing at this is the RSC and the Globe. They blind cast all the time. That, as in, it doesn't matter whether it's King Lear, a woman's playing King Lear. It doesn't matter if it's Romeo and Juliet. It could be two women. They blind cast all the time, and I cannot praise the RSC and the Globe enough for, they do, transgender, non-binary, and also neurodivergence is a thing which is becoming more and more, noticeable, prevalent in the industry, and people just need to be aware. It's that awareness of neurodiversity, equality, and diversity and inclusion, those sorts of things that are really passionate for me. I think I stand firm with that and calling it out, calling it out. So that's what I'm really, really passionate about. And I think it just starts from the top, as you asked me the question, how can this change? And I think it just basically starts from the top, people who actually are directors. Okay, if it's, I don't know, Gone with the Wind, you have a predominantly white cast, but then you get like the black maids, because that's what happened. You have the black maids and the black, guys who play the farm hands and things like that. And they're typical, black roles. But sometimes we're more than that, But don't get me wrong, there's shows that are predominantly black, like Motown, that was an amazing show. That was fantastic. But yeah, I just think it starts from the top.
Yeah. When I look at TV as well, sometimes you could make the argument that TV's just as guilty as well.
You could say that TV is just as guilty, but I find that with television, again, they are actually trying to make that change. They are trying to make those changes because there's more people of color in TV commercials, for one, and idents, and more people of color in things like EastEnders, Emmerdale. Emmerdale years and years ago was like was predominantly white, but they're bringing more and more black families in. It's like Coronation Street. They're bringing more and more black families in, and it's amazing. It's absolutely, it is fantastic that they're bringing lots of diverse cultures into EastEnders, like Indian families, Asian families, and I love to see that. But it really does start at the top,
And how about drama series? Would you say that they still need to catch up, or are they there?
Yeah, drama series. Yeah, people need to catch up. It's gonna take time. We know that it's gonna take time, but if we can see those changes happening, and we are seeing those changes happening. This is my point. We are seeing those changes happening, but they're very slow changes. It's more relevant. It's more noticeable in theatre than it is in television and film. There's Michaela Cole. She's paving the way for black actors to kind of like be more creative, and she's standing behind like their projects and things, which is fantastic. But it's an ongoing situation that we all are aware of, but the changes can happen a little bit faster because it's people at the top. And it just, every time I see a cast picture in theatre or even in television, and I just see that it's mainly okay, let me break it down for you. When I went online and I did a search for TV daytime shows, and the images that I saw was only mainly like white presenters. I know we've got Alison Hammond. I know we've got the guy who does Under the Hammer. He used to be a footballer. He was in one of the pictures. But the diversity is just so incredibly low. And if they are working in the genres of television shows, they're working behind the scenes and they ain't going to be seen. It's always about that image, Sometimes it's about that image and how, the television program is portrayed. But we know we've got the Alison Hammonds. We know we've got several people of color, like reading the news, and also the weather and things like that. But to actually see a full like screen of only like Caucasian people, it's kind of like disheartening, as if, there are loads of culturally diverse people who watch these programs every day. I love Loose Women because they have got a great lineup of women who, like Judy Love, you know, one of the girls from Eternal, she's on there. Is it Kelly? I can't remember, but you know, it's that diversity, and it's coming up. It's coming up, but it's very slow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thankfully, you know, social media is starting to make a big difference as well. It's given a bit more of an even playing field. If you're good, you're good. And I think people will just be drawn on to you. You're making waves. You know, you certainly made an impact on social media. You've got a great following. You've written a book. Talk to us about your book, Still Laughing.
Well, I'm surprised I'm still laughing, the amount of things that have actually happened to me. But you know, the book has actually been in my head for about 30 years, but I just sort of thought to myself, I've got to get this book out of my head and write it. And it was with my best friend. She's also a business psychologist, Karim Harris. She encouraged me to write it. And it's just literally a brief version of my memoir, autobiography about my life, my personal life, some of my personal life going into my professional life, and what happened into those you know, transitions of, you know, performing, the jobs that almost broke me, like the theatrical jobs that were just like, one of the jobs actually made me not do a theatrical job for almost 3 years because it was that traumatic. And that was just out of pure bullying, really. But you know, it's just a transition. So it's, you know, so I call it Still Laughing because everyone who knows me, they know that I laugh a lot. So you know, they know that I still keep positive, I still keep upbeat, and I'm very always grateful for all the experiences that I've actually experienced, and I do keep it positive. I've written about jobs that have actually changed my life, you know, for the better. You know, and I did Chicago in America, you know, on the biggest cruise ship in the world at the time, back in 2009. So yeah, you know, it was a great time. So it's not all doom and gloom, you know, even though, but the thing is, with people of color, we experience a lot of these things, but we don't say anything because we just think we're rocking the boat and we just carry on. And then when that happens, it just makes it acceptable for those people who kind of like say certain things without thinking, that it's okay to say those sort of things, and it's not. So you know, I've experienced that, and I just thought, oh, that's not very nice. And then you just carry on. But you know, what's sad is the fact that I can remember things that's been said to me that's happened years ago, and it feels like it only happened yesterday. So again, it's that, you know, it's that mindfulness that people just don't have, especially people that, you know, who are sat on an audition panel, sat on a long table, and sometimes there's about 10 people sat at that table, sitting there judging you and watching you to see what you can do, which is fine because obviously you want to try and get the job. But then sometimes there's one person that sort of says something, and the others know that it's wrong, but they just don't say anything because it's like, oh, you know, we're actually in a situation here because it's awkward. But as the actor, as the performer, you just carry on. You just, you know, your skin, you know, your skin gets tough because it's like water off a duck's back, as they say. So the book kind of outlines a few things, and it's funny. Well, I think it's funny in parts. But yeah, you know.
Yeah, and you know, you writing a book like this certainly brings this to light, and it brings, you know, it makes those decision makers accountable, because I think until people like yourself are in those positions where you can make the decisions, it's going to be difficult to find that balance. And you know, it just means that we need more people like you, Linda, to be the ones making the decisions, to be the ones casting and bringing in, you know, to make it, again, as we started this conversation, more equal, you know,
Yeah,
a diverse
yeah.
cast.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, Amos. But the thing is, like I said, it's happening, but it's happening very slowly. My heart is absolutely full of joy when I see a new family in Emmerdale or Coronation Street or Eastenders. It's absolutely like, I'm like, yes, I'm loving it, you know, absolutely loving it. But it breaks my heart at the same time when I see a theatrical cast photo with only one black person in it or one Indian person in it. And I'm like, do you know there's over 30,000, maybe more, probably more now, but there's over 30,000 graduates that graduate out of Performing Arts College every 3 years. And you mean to tell me that there's no people of color that can be chosen to be in these productions? No. So Amos, watch out because 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 I'm writing a second book. I'm writing a second book about the industry and just giving
Fantastic.
like an overview, you know, giving like an overview of what it's like, how it feels to be a person of color in a theatrical production or in any production. You know, it really is about the equality, diversity, inclusion, and also including neurodiverse people, divergent people as well. So that's really important, really important.
Absolutely. So, Linda, what can we expect from you in the near future? What you up to? What's going on? We know the second book's going to come out soon.
Well, actually, I'll have to correct you there, Amos, because this book is going to take me about a year to write because I'm going to do this correctly. And it will be a #1 bestseller because it's not only about me writing the second book, it's about educating those graduates who are coming out into the big wide world and thinking, yeah, I'm going to go straight into the West End. But the reality for some people, it does actually happen. I know one person, a good friend of mine, he left college and he went straight into the West End. However, my friend is multi talented. So it's no surprise there. However, but the reality for some graduates is that they end up working in a coffee shop for about a year because they've got an agent, but they just can't seem to book a job for whatever reason. That's the reality. But for me, in terms of what's happening in the future, I've got a couple of things that are going to be coming out on TV soon. Oh, I'm excited. So in the summer, which I recorded last year, and a film that's coming out this year as well. So yeah, the film I think I can tell you about is Greatest Days, about Take That music.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is
So
that in the summer, is it?
yes.
Uh,
And the TV thing is happening in summer around, I think around the same time. But I'm focusing on my book, the second book, and it's going to be a book of hope, not just about, oh, you know, Black people are suffering in the industry, blah, blah, blah. It's not only about that. It's about experiences of what actually happens today in a theatrical environment, which is shocking, which is absolutely shocking. So I'm focusing on that, focusing on other projects that are coming in. I'm focusing on being a TV presenter as well. So yeah, loose women better watch out.
I expect to see you in Loose Women, The One Show, you name it, everywhere.
Absolutely. This morning, oh yes.
Absolutely brilliant. Linda John-Pierre, what a wonderful opportunity to speak to you and just to hear your journey. And yes, there's been a lot of ups and downs, but that commitment, that drive, it's never gone away. It's who you are. It's your purpose. It's your calling.
Yeah.
And now it's even become bigger than yourself because you're calling out these industry bosses who've been getting away with a lot of bad things for a long time. And thank goodness for someone like yourself who's calling them out for what is going on, which is not right. The biasness, the racism. You know, it's time for an equal playing field, and thanks to people like yourself, that change is happening. Not quite as quick as we'd like it to happen, but it is happening. And
Yeah.
as long as we've got people like you in our corner fighting, there will be change.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Amos. Championing all the way.
Linda, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
you, Amos. Thank
And
you
we'll put the links as well for the audience to connect with you as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
If you want some amazing inspiration, check out the videos next to me, and I'll see you right there.